What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Game On Improve Your Health podcast. Today's episode journey is being guided by none other than your host, Austin J, or hallucinodream, if you know him from the gaming community. And he is being joined today by his lovely wife and co-host, demoted, Christina. And today's topic is on misinformation. Thank you for tuning in and listening, and enjoy this episode. What's up, everybody? And thank you for tuning in. And as you have noticed, but haven't heard maybe yet on the podcast platforms, Christina's here.
Hi.
Welcome back. Thank you for being a co-host once again.
Yep, it's been a long time.
For today.
Only.
There's no guarantee she'll be back next week. So, for the follow-up.
Probably not.
But she's here, and her hair is very blonde.
It is really blonde right now.
Let's hear in the comments what people think.
Oh, great. Perfect.
The lighting is making it more blonde.
Yeah, the lighting is making
it
like
more blonde than it actually is.
Blonde. Yeah.
But it looks good.
But
it looks good.
Back to
for
summer.
For those who are watching on YouTube, she has enlightened me that she has a frame around her face now. She says she got her face framed for the first time ever. I didn't know what that meant until she didn't explain it, I had to guess. But yeah, it looks like she has just a walking around with a picture frame.
Pretty much. That's what it is.
So that's interesting.
For those listening, you can imagine what that looks like.
Yes, for those listening, just imagine.
Yep.
So today we're going to be talking about misinformation. And yeah, it's going to be fun and exciting. And I'm going to go ahead and I had something I wanted to say just 2 seconds ago before the whole framing thing. But
I feel like I always make him flustered.
I am flustered.
On these podcasts.
Well, I want to apologize for the quality. We are on a mobile stream right now, and that's probably why she joined me, because she was really not given a choice.
I have no choice. Yeah, we're trapped here together.
Yes, we're using
This is the second time since our daughter was born 2 years ago that we've been alone together. Pretty much.
Yes, so, this is true.
It's true.
That's not misinformation. That's actual true information.
Fact. Yep.
I'm sure any parents who are listening can probably relate at some point to that. But yeah, so kind of just made her. I was like, hey, I need to do a podcast episode. She's like, okay, have fun. I was like, okay, well, you're joining me. So
I was like, wow, you have like 2 hours while I'm getting my hair done. He was like, well, actually, let's do it together. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
But the main reason I invite her was because I keep promising that I'm going to have a guest on the podcast, which is in the works and on the plans, but it hasn't happened yet. So now I have delivered at least one of the guests.
Maybe every time you want a guest star, you could just marry a new one.
Oh, and then trap them. That's a good idea.
Exactly.
That's a good idea. We want some thoughts on that as well in some of the comments. So we're gonna get into the misinformation. That's what this episode's on. I want to talk about misinformation because I have been using social media. I've been posting vlogs with our daughter. Christina, of course, is in them as well. But
as a guest star, if you will.
She's a guest star. They are literally listed as mine and my daughter's podcast, so sorry.
It's okay.
But you're like the third wheel.
It's fine. That's fair.
And so I want to start expanding different avenues and everything on social media. So I've been browsing, and I see a lot of stuff that maybe it just seems misrepresented and could easily be misunderstood by somebody who may be getting into a health and wellness routine and could truly set them on a path to derail themselves, right? And just maybe not succeed as where they want to and demotivate them, right? So we want to talk about some misinformation and things and like things you can do to try to combat that, especially, I mean, because it's everywhere. It's on social media. It's on the news. The news sometimes
Some
has segments.
magazines,
It's in magazines for sure. News sometimes has segments where they bring fitness and nutrition professionals on. So we want to try to help with some of that misinformation, and I'm gonna do it. You can take it off, Christina. Thank you.
Okay. I thought I was the guest, not the...
You are the guest.
Okay.
Guessed what? You're starting.
Perfect.
That's the guest.
All right. So I'm trying to think of I don't know. This might not just be miscommunication, but
Misinformation.
Misinformation. Sorry.
Miscommunication kind of is the same.
Is I guess the same thing.
The same thing, yeah.
The most recent, so there was just the Met Gala, which, for those of you that don't follow, it's a big, socialite, famous people go there.
I've never heard of it.
And so, of course, people like the Kardashians go, and they were talking about how apparently one of them was saying, oh, yeah, I basically, starved myself to, days before the event so I could fit into, my dress and stuff like that. And,
No.
No, what?
On TV?
Yeah.
That was said out loud and broadcasted?
And so everybody is, talking about it, and how, so many other people are posting, that is not the message that you want to give children, young girls, or even just really anybody, right? Anybody that is trying to get into a health and wellness routine, or just anybody, you should not, even if you're joking, when you're in a public light that it, those are just such dangerous things, to say. And so, imagine you are in a susceptible place in your life because you're really trying to maybe lose weight, or to get into better shape, and you already tend to look up to these women or men, and you're seeing them on TV, you're seeing how good they look, and then they're like, yeah, I starved myself to fit into this dress. Well, that sucks, because then you're like, oh my gosh, well, obviously I can't eat anymore. so that's the most recent thing that can kind of come to mind, that if this were 10, maybe not that long, probably about if this were me 10 years ago, I would have been okay, well, I have to stop eating if I want to look like that. So
yeah. Wow. I kind of had a little heart attack listening to that story. That's unbelievable. That would, so I mean, joking aside, I agree with what you said, and it's not even just for people who are trying to work towards or maintain a health and wellness routine, or somebody who may be struggling with an eating disorder, right? It could be for parents too. So I think about that, and it's we have a daughter. When she gets old enough to have idols like that, and she hears that at a young age, she could do exactly what Christina just said she would probably do, because she looked up to them and be like, well, that's what they did to look like that, so that's what I have to do. Which the truth about it is, that's not what they did. They didn't actually starve themselves. That is very, very drastic measures. And realistically, you probably wouldn't look like that if you were starving yourself. And that's one thing that, especially for the parents, I would have to make sure that my daughter, understood the difference. She was just making a joke. You can't really starve yourself, because when you starve yourself, it starts deteriorating your body, right? That's kind of what it do. Your body would eat away at itself to try to keep you alive. Yeah, well, and I think that that's one of the biggest misconceptions, is that especially for me, that's something that I've struggled with throughout my health and wellness journey, is that I would I would plateau, at a certain point, just as far as muscle, and because I wouldn't eat enough, and I wouldn't eat enough of the right foods, and so I think it's just that misconception of
well, like if you want to stay skinny, or if you want to be, like a certain weight, or like, well, you just don't eat as much. But like, well, when you're working out, you actually need to eat, right? And so there are like, you could go to a nutritionist. And then I ended up going to a nutritionist, and she's like, well, you're not gaining as much muscle as you want because you're not eating enough, and you're not eating enough of the right foods. And so, we tend to think of like, okay, I want to look a certain way, and I want to feel a certain way, and then we start cutting foods, and we start not eating enough. And really that can be so counterproductive when you are trying to gain muscle, or, like even do like, Spartan races, like that takes so much for us. Like you have to eat in order to fuel your body, but you have to eat the right foods. And so, just like the misconception is like, oh, just don't eat as much, like, and then you'll lose weight. Like, well, that's not always how it works. And most of the time, that's not how it works at all.
That also goes, all of that is very true. And this is why the misinformation is so, it's hard to combat as well, because when you have an idol, like somebody very famous, and they're saying this is what works, you're dead set on that being what it is, regardless of what a personal trainer or nutritionist would say. But I just cut myself off and lost my train of thought. What was I going? What did you just say? Because I wanted to add to it.
Starving, nutritionist.
Oh yeah, eating. Yeah, that. So as Christina said, starving yourself is it. That's not really how it works. So you can't really build muscle and everything, but you also won't be able to lose weight either. Yeah, you might be losing, like you're starving yourself, you might be losing weight, and when you lose it really fast, it's more than likely water weight.
Right.
But your body is going to do what it can to store anything that it can, because you're in starvation mode, and that's going to throw your hormones out of whack, and your body's not going to be able to do all of those biological chemical functions. There was another word I wanted to use, but that's what came to mind first. But all of those, all the functions that needs to do to be able to actually build muscle, maintain muscle, and then burn that fat. And if you're not eating, you're kind of putting all of that and your metabolism and your hormones on the back burner. You're kind of putting them in a mode they don't understand on what to do. So your body goes into survival mode, which you really don't want to be in, I would say, unless you are in dire need to be in survival mode. So listening to, really just need to be, especially those who are old enough to understand, right, kids aside, and explain to your kids why it's important to not do what they said. But they can still be your idol, of course, right? So you don't want to knock them down.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, I didn't hear that at the gala, whatever that is. But whether it was a joke or not, it wasn't a good one, especially for somebody who has probably a lot of young followers, right?
And even has children herself, And I just think as a parent, you are their first idol. Before they really know who anybody is, you are their first idol. And, imagine
trying to combat that one.
Right, and so it's your kids are sponges. We were just talking about this on the way down, how does our daughter learn, some of the things, without, really being taught? And it's just because, she watches us. She watches people around her. She watches shows. She pretends how to read books, and
she probably does read these books,
right,
by the way.
She probably does read them. And so, she just she watches everything. And so it's not even just what comes out of your mouth. It's just about, how you act when you think that they're not watching, because they are.
It's your actions as well.
Yeah, and so we did it a lot more when we were, we had her right at the beginning of the pandemic. And so we did it a lot more earlier, but she was downstairs in the gym with us at least once a day. And she still goes down there more so with you. But we even take her to the gym. You know, like now she's getting older, so we have a family gym membership. She goes to the gym while we work out. But, you know, it's really important for her to see us do these things. We just went for a run with her the other day. Mm-hmm. She'll like, I'll say, oh, Daddy's working out. She goes, run! And like, he's running. Like, yes, Daddy's running. And, you know, she knows these things. And even though she might not understand it, and we've said this on other podcasts, she might not understand the benefits, but it's becoming a part of our lives. And it's just something that, like, my mom did it. My mom always worked out growing up. And so, like, it wasn't a foreign concept to me. It was just something that people do. Like, you eat a home cooked meal for, like, that was just what I knew growing up. Like, you ate a home cooked meal, you didn't eat out all the time, and my mom worked out growing up, you know. And just like, these are like the building blocks that you start with your kids or any young people around you. You might not be a parent, but you might be an aunt, an uncle, you know, friend, something like that. And that, you know, any good influences, you don't know that they are watching, but they are.
I agree. Also, imagine trying to reverse that one, because just like you said, you are your children's number one idol, right? Mm-hmm. So imagine your child hearing what you said, and then them doing or saying that's what they're going to be doing to get the body that you have, and then you try to combat it, but then they say, hey, well,
you said it,
you said
or
that.
You do it, you know. It's really hard.
Now, I know people can say things that obviously out of context, or they're joking and everything, and it seriously could have been a joke.
Yes. I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was.
I'm sure it was too. But
you know.
Yeah, you just. The thing is, joke or not,
especially if you've seen the way they eat on the Kardashians, like, they don't starve themselves.
You just need to be aware of what you're seeing on TV, reading in magazines, and seeing on social media, and know that you know, like, what is, and if it seems abnormal like that, just do a little bit more research, right? Because you'll find very quickly, especially, you can do a Google search, right? Google's incredibly powerful. You'll find very quickly that that's not a feasible option, and it won't actually work, and it'll make you sick, right? That's like the easiest, quickest way to explain that. Or you can go talk to a nutritionist. They will tell you even more in even more detail on how bad that could potentially be for you. And I'm not just talking about that specific statement. I'm talking about you know, a lot of different things. I'm going to talk about. We're going to jump over to something I saw on TikTok, because I've been watching a lot of fitness professionals on social media lately to gather some information. I'm doing research. And this person was going over 5 tips, I believe it was. I'm paraphrasing because I don't 100% remember exactly what it was. 5 tips on getting a flat belly, I think it was. And the first tip that came up was about walking, and how not enough people understand the benefits of walking. I've said that a million times in my podcast so far, and I completely backed that up. So I continued watching because I was interested. And then it followed up with a couple statements of walking, the benefits, and then it ended, that number 1 ended with walk at least 2 miles a day. And that's when I was like, this is invalid information now. And I say that because if you are just working out, let's say I'm just starting a fitness routine, a health and wellness routine, and I don't even know where to begin, but I do know walking is beneficial, and I see this pop up, and this person has a flat belly, and they have a nice physique, and I aspire to look like that. I want to lose some weight. I want to, you know, build some muscle, do this, do that. And they say walk 2 miles a day. Wow, that's 2 miles. I've never even walked a mile yet, but I'm gonna have to try that. And then I do the first day. I don't really get 2 miles, but I get close. The second day I do 2 miles. I do that for about 3 days, and then I'm completely burnt out because I've never walked before. And then my feet hurt, my legs hurt, my knees hurt, and now.
And there is a difference in, like, I think it's like I know. Sorry, I always cut you off. But, like,
Oh,
there's
continue.
a difference of, like, just casually walking, right, throughout the day. Like, yeah, sure. Throughout your day, you might walk 2 miles. But, so if you're on a treadmill, like, walking at, like, whatever those little, like, 1 mile per hour is not, like, what they're talking about when they say walking, right?
No, this person specifically was talking about a steady state cardio
Right.
in low heart rate zone, actual
Right.
2 miles worth of walking
And
on
so, like,
treadmill or on a road
so,
or whatever.
like, for most people, that's going to be at, like, at least, so, like, when you're on the treadmill, any workout class I've ever gone to, it was, like, an active, like, bare minimum is, like, 3.2. Like, on the little treadmill button.
That's kind of where I walk. That's like
Yeah,
That's like
like
that's
that,
like
so,
actual
like,
normal walking pace.
Yeah, like, so, like, 3.2, 3.5, like, anything that's, like, but it's not just, like, a boom, boom, like, casual, like, stroll. Like, you are walking. So, like, because I think that's also, like, the difference is, like, oh, well, like, like, people put that, like, little, everybody has, like, Apple Watches or Fitbits or whatever. And they're like, oh, I walked, like, 10,000 steps today, and it equated to, like, 2 miles. Like, that's not getting your heart rate up. That's not what they're talking about when they say a 2-mile walk. Yes?
Correct.
Okay.
Not that specific statement, but there are. So I'm gonna take that statement
And tweak it?
and I'm gonna tweak it a little bit. That person specifically was telling you to, even if you do walk 10,000 steps at work, go walk 2 miles afterwards, or else you're not going to have a flat belly. That's basically what I gathered from it. And I don't think that should be. If it stopped before that and said, start light, start walking, 10 minutes, like, just start with a 10-minute mark. And if you feel like you can't even make 10 minutes, just do 8 minutes. And then do that for a little bit and then build up. You have to start small, or you're going to burn out. And had they said that, it would have changed the whole. That's building habits and mindset and setting you up for success, as opposed to, somebody looking at that from outside, not knowing that walking 2 miles is probably going to burn them out fairly quickly, because it's just a lot, especially if you are doing 10 to 12,000
miles.
Yeah, wow. steps a day because you work a physical job. Now, I have a goal. I have a running goal, but I would consider myself a seasoned runner at this point, but I'm not actually a runner. So I'm a seasoned cardio
He is a seasoned runner.
enthusiast. I don't even know what tempo runs are. I'm not a runner yet, but it's where you listen to a nice tempo while
He
you're running.
knows what it is.
And so, but I also have a goal of at least a minimum of 10,000 steps on top of that. So my goal is always 10,000 steps minimum. Now, some days I exceed that by a lot. If we're walking around Disney, you can see that on some of our, not our vlogs, but mine and my daughter's vlogs. And then there's some days where I barely just make it over that, right? I would use that. I honestly would even say, I would use that as a goal too, because there are some people who work in offices, right? And they don't get a chance to walk all the time. So if you were to say, hey, try to hit 10,000 steps, here is a tip you could do instead of going out after work or before work and walking 2 miles straight. Get up at lunch and maybe park a little further away, walk to your car to lunch, to grab your lunch or to eat your lunch or whatever. Just get up and walk around the office periodically. If I've talked about this in another episode too, I would imagine that your bosses aren't going to be upset if you get up, as long as you're not doing it like every 10 minutes. But if you get up like once or twice a day and just go for a quick stroll around the office, stretch your legs, get your blood flowing, you do that and it'll add a bunch of steps, right? And you don't have to set a 10,000 step goal. That's mine because I move a lot.
Yep.
And I have always.
Yeah, if you have chased a toddler.
Yeah, you can just put your Fitbit right on your tablet.
Yeah.
But start slow, right? So set yourself a goal, and it could be literally just 4,000 steps. And if you exceed that by a lot, because you didn't realize you even walked that far, just bump it up.
Yeah.
You know, just bump it up to 5,000, and then see if you can do 5,000 for 3 or 4 days. This is one of the things, and this walking is just one example. There are so many workouts and nutrition misinformation, social media posts going around. It's just unbelievable. So I just can't stress enough that if you need to really do research before you just watch something and, you know, just go at it. And especially, like, I'm going to use the walking one as an example. If you look at that and you're like, wow, 2 miles is a lot, because I haven't really walked very much, and I do work in an office setting. You have to try to realize and that's not exactly the right path for everybody. Jumping straight into 2 miles to get that flat belly is more than likely not going to get you there, because you're going to burn yourself out. And when people burn themselves out, especially if they get injured, their feet start hurting them, their knees, now they have this knee pain because they started walking on sidewalks.
Yep.
The chances of you trying another walking routine is going to be much more slim. It's going to be a lot harder to get into, because you're just going to have that bad experience ingrained in your mind.
Yep. Well, and, you know, even, I mean, you just see so many ads, right, for things that tell you that they're healthy, or that they burn fat, or they, you know, just whatever it might be, you know, and like these ads, like, they look good, right? Like, I mean, there are so many times when, like, I have seen like something that looks really good, and I don't pay attention to the ingredients. I just look at, like, yes, this ad hit everything that I wanted or that I was looking for. And it, like, there's some nice fit people doing it. They're on a beach somewhere. It looks great. And that's what marketers do. I mean, that's the point, is that they, like, not that they're necessarily maybe unhealthy or that they're bad for you. It's just like, like, that's the goal of the marketers, right? Is to hit at those, like, they have a target market, and then they hit all of these points that somebody is going, like, these triggers, right? You know, these triggering moments. And I'll normally just send it, like, if there's something that, like, nutrition-wise I want to try, or that I think, like, I'll normally send it over to him and just like, hey, like, do you think I can try this? Like, because I don't, even if I looked at the ingredients, I'd be like, sure, it looks good. Like, I'm like, I don't know. And I know I'm not going to do the research on the company that I should, but he will, you know? And so I just send it over, and I'm just like, hey, is this legit, or is this, like, you know, a scam? Like, is this bullshit? And so,
and
you know,
nutrition, on the nutrition fact, looking up the nutrition facts, now that I just said that twice backwards,
facts of nutrition.
that takes a lot of learning, basically.
Yep.
And that is something that you would have to practice over and over, and that is definitely something, yes, there's a lot of miscommunication, now you got me saying that, about that, but that's something you can learn over time. Mm-hmm. Just like walking, I would start slow. Like what I do, the first thing I check is sugar. You can start with that. If it has too much sugar, my general rule of thumb is, like, if it has more than 4 grams of added sugar, it's too much for me.
Yeah.
I try to go for 0, but especially for our daughter, right? Because they love to slam sugar in kids' food. If it's over 4 grams, too much.
Yeah, sugar in kids' drinks or not even just drinks, but just cereals and, like, bars that are supposed to, like, and again, they're the brands that have branded themselves as healthy. You know?
I bought her some blueberry Cheerios recently. She loved them, and then
so you're like, well, no crap.
And then I ate a bowl. And usually when I'm, you know, I looked at the facts, but I didn't look at the sugar for some reason at this point, and I'm not 100% sure why. But I got it, and then I ate it, and then I was like, man, I'm gonna look at the nutrition facts again. 11 grams of sugar. 11 grams of added sugar per serving in that box of Cheerios, heart-healthy Cheerios, and it's supposed to lower your cholesterol and all this other amazing stuff. But you put all this sugar in it, huh?
Yeah.
That was mind-boggling. Yeah, like your mind was trapped in a bottle, couldn't escape. Anyways, just start. We have podcast episodes on nutrition as well, so you can go back and listen to those. But just start slow, like that. I'd like just start looking at sugar.
Yeah.
You'll become accustomed to that, and then you can be like, well, what else should I look for? Mm-hmm. You look for different oils, seed oils. Get rid of those.
But yeah, just like, again, falling into the traps of like, okay, well, everybody seems to be doing it, or everybody's following this person on TikTok or Instagram, or that this company has branded them as healthy. They have branded themselves as healthy, and that is a huge misconception, is that that everything that these as you see on TV or that you read or that somebody says is true. Sure, they might be healthier than an alternative, but are they good for you? Are they good for your goals? Are they good for, and everybody's goals are different, right? Mm-hmm. And so, they might be okay for some people, but, for the average person that has moderate activity, that's trying to, cut sugar, a lot of these, packaged stuff's not good. And so, but we fall into the trap of, healthy people walking on the beach eating them, telling you that they're healthy. Well,
that happens.
Yeah, that happens more often than not. And that's how people get into these, traps of they think something's good for them and then it's really not. Yeah.
I'm going to add to your your TikTok follower thing. You just have to be aware that it's pretty, apparently, it's pretty easy to get a lot of followers on these platforms and a lot of likes and all this other stuff. And there's definitely some doctors and fitness professionals that I don't even think twice to believe what they're saying, because I've been following them and doing research after they say something enough times to know that they're more than likely not lying, because they haven't yet. Why would they start now? And they like to debunk some of that stuff. But there are some people, and I'm not knocking on some of the people who do all this fitness stuff, nutrition stuff, and all that. They may just be one of those people who believes that this is the right thing, but it just might be targeting the wrong people. Yeah. So you just have to try to be aware. Maybe do a little bit more research, see how
if it works for you.
Yeah, see if it's going to work for you, and try not to burn yourself out.
Yeah.
And this episode has been going on for quite some time. I don't know when this episode is going to be uploaded. I'm not going to lie, because I don't know if the internet where we are will be able to handle uploading it. So we're probably going to end it here. Yep. And I appreciate Christina for joining us. Thanks, Christina. Everybody say thank you in the comments. Yep. And I will be back next week with a question and follow up and question and answer. Said that one wrong, but thank you for everybody who has tuned in and listened. All of our links over here on the left if you're watching on YouTube, and in the description if you are watching on listening on the podcast platform. And thanks for everybody tuning in. Hope to see you all next week.
Bye.